Hello, welcome back to Your Money and Real Estate. My name's Mark Vasilius. I'm with the fabulous suntanned Andrew Hines, and we were talking about, Robbie had a great question. She obviously has some equity in her home, and she wants to really move forward. It's like, Jennifer started with a very general question, and then Robbie sort of said, look, I need to be a bit more specific. So, Andrew, why don't we take that a bit further?
Okay, Robbie, so I will pick up on your question. Just so you know, you can take the equity out of your home up to 80%, so it sounds like you've probably got a fair bit available. That's as simple as, give me a call, go to www.profunds.ca, and you can find our contact information there, and we can actually arrange to have a new mortgage put in place for you so that you can access those funds. Then from there, it's up to you. If you find a property that you would like, absolutely, if you're employed and your credit is in place, we can get you a mortgage on a new property. And the process is actually quite simple. What I would urge you to do is just please be very careful as you're buying a property, and don't take that decision lightly. That is something that many landlords out there will tell you, I wish I could take back that house that I bought.
Yeah.
And the key thing to avoid those type of mistakes is, once again, to get educated. Go out and talk to other real estate investors that are doing it right. Don't go talk to the people who have sad stories. Talk to people who are making good money and they're happy, because if you can find a happy landlord, they probably did something to be that way.
Sure.
And that's the person that you want to be as a real estate investor.
We've all heard nightmare stories.
Yeah.
I bought a rental property, I rented it to a bunch of students, and all they did was smash, walls out and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, so you absolutely have to be careful. What I would encourage you to do is take the first step. And the first step is just, getting involved in some way. And what I would recommend is come out to our seminar next week. It's on Thursday, September the 12th. And it's at 7 p.m. And I believe the...
Howard Johnson on Yonge Street, is that where it is?
It's the Howard Johnson. Is
Howard Johnson in Aurora, that's right.
In Aurora. So, that's a great opportunity for you to get these questions answered in more detail, and then really get a clearer picture for yourself. Is it really that I want to buy another property, or do I want another more passive type of investment?
Now, you're certainly touching on something we talked at the very beginning, which is let's move slowly. Let's a person like Robbie needs a little bit of I don't want to use the word hand-holding, but you know what? Move slowly, because it's an important investment. Now, I don't mean to move on, but again, the phones are ringing. We have I believe we still have Jordan on the line. Jordan, are you still there?
Hi, yes I am.
Go ahead. What's your question?
Okay, so I'm calling because I'm a student. I'm 21 years old, and I'm just wondering if there is an age restriction on investing with RSPs, and if there's a minimum amount.
Andrew, take it away.
Jordan, that's a good question. So you asked if there's a minimum restriction on how much you can invest?
Yeah, and like an age restriction as well.
There's no age restriction. If you have RSPs, you can use them. So the number one thing is, yes, there is a bit of a minimum, and that's not because it's a hard enforced minimum. It's just typically we don't get a lot of private mortgage requests for less than $25,000. So usually we'd be starting in the ballpark of $20,000 to $25,000. If you had that available, then absolutely there would be an opportunity come along that may interest you, and we could put you into as an investment.
Now, you're touching on something, in terms of an amount, but which we talked about before the show. We want to sort of address it with some of our viewers, and that's a thing called a syndicate mortgage, where someone like Jordan, I don't know if you're still there, Jordan, but if you have less than 25, is there another avenue of how she could invest in real estate without necessarily, owning a rental property or doing a mortgage directly? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what if she only has 5,000? Is that something that she could do? And does ProFunds do something like that?
Typically, we don't have requests that would pool that small of an amount of funds together.
Okay.
I would really like to put some emphasis on that. It is $20,000 or more. There is the occasional request for less than that, but if you really want to have a good shot at getting your money used in a mortgage, please try and make sure that you have at least that. We can certainly, if you have a family member that also has some funds available, you can also talk to them, and perhaps they want to pitch in $10,000, and that's how you come up with the $20,000. But it goes upward from there. We have private mortgage requests from say $25,000 to $200,000, and then even upward from there.
Is it in terms of the minimum amount? Is it that obviously no one wants to refinance their home for $5,000, but I've heard of what they call a syndicate where people pool their money. And is it fees, or is it what makes it prohibitive for such smaller amounts?
You really hit on it there, Mark. It's the fees. If you think about a real estate transaction is fixed. Our work in the process as mortgage brokers, the lawyers' work. That doesn't change whether it's a $200,000 mortgage or it's a $5,000 mortgage. And I can tell you that legal fees are going to probably be $1,000 to $2,000 on a transaction. So if they're only investing $5,000, we also have to get paid in there as well.
Sure.
Now it is the borrowers that pay us. The investor never pays us. It's actually deducted from the borrower's advance. But if they're borrowing $5,000, essentially they're not really going to get anything after they pay fees. Right. So for that reason, that's why it tends to start around 25, and certainly goes upward from there.
Yeah. So if again the fees that we're discussing, they're a fixed amount, so it would be obviously more beneficial to throw in more money because that fixed amount is not going to change.
Right.
Like a lawyer's fee doesn't charge you more if you got $200,000.
Right, and once again, keep in mind the person paying that fee is the borrower. So the borrower is not going to request to borrow a really small amount of money because it's not worthwhile. Okay. But the borrower would request to borrow $50,000. If their total fees are $5,000, they still get $45,000 in their pocket to do with what they want, and to buy that next investment property or to complete the renovations that they're working on their property, so that they can add significant value to it and sell it and make a profit. And ultimately, that's what this is all about. This is about making a profit in real estate. Now,
we touched on using RSPs, and I know that on my website I talk a lot about that. I get the majority of the questions I get are always about using their RSPs to buy an investment or to invest in an investment property. Can you walk through a little bit of the process of a family? They're saving money. They got $50,000, let's say, in RSP. They don't necessarily want to deal with the headaches, or they're afraid of the idea of managing tenants. How would someone like that say, okay, you know what? I'm tired of getting 3%. I want to go and get 8, 10%. Yeah. What's the due diligence process? How would someone go about the process of doing that? Take it right from the beginning.
Okay. Yeah, and that's a good place to start. So we'll start at the beginning. The first step obviously is making that decision that I don't want to invest my money at 3% or 2% or more realistically negative -1%. I want to make more. And so the first step would be to realize that. And then to go from there would be to come out to one of our forums, www.profunds.ca, so that's profunds.ca. And then from there, you can learn a little bit about what it is that you'd like to invest in. Maybe you are very conservative and you'd like to only invest in the safest of the safe private mortgages. That's fine. We do have offers or requests for that. Those are typically not going to earn quite as much of a return. But then we have other people that they're willing to take a little bit of risk, because they have been in the stock market anyway.
Sure.
And they're earning anywhere from 8 to 12%. So the due diligence that's involved in that process is essentially we get requests all the time for private funds. What's really important that is we do not work with very poor credit clients. We don't work with people who can't make it to their next paycheck, and that's why they need a private mortgage.
Sure.
That's not the client base we work with. As I said, we work with investors, and these are people who have great jobs, great credit, and they already own several properties, and they just want to grow more because they understand that the key to wealth is to build your portfolio and to build your passive income, and that's done through real estate.
So again, someone has $50,000. They would go to a seminar or give you a call and discuss, I guess, removing it out of, if it's sitting, let's say, I don't know, a bank somewhere, and it's earning a lousy 3%.
Yeah.
How quick could someone says, you know what, I want to do it.
Okay.
I want to transfer my money right now. How quick, and what is the sort of the steps involved?
Okay, so the first step would be to make sure that your RSP is with an institution that can lend arm's length private mortgages.
Okay.
There are multiple institutions out there that do that. And if once
did the
again,
Big Five? Sorry, did the Big Five offer that kind of stuff?
Some of the Big Five do, not all.
Okay.
Once again, that's another piece of information. Getting into a little bit more detail, please come out to our seminar,
Sure.
and we can talk about that more. But once you get to that first step, your funds are in the right institution and they have to be sitting in cash. So essentially your investment is sitting in cash, say at TD Waterhouse.
Can a LIRA, can any type of RSP, or is it like when you mention cash, it's got to be available, or can a LIRA, can the TS, for kids, we're learning for their education.
Oh, the RESP?
RESP, sorry, yes.
Yeah, any of those can be sitting in cash, and I want to take back what I said about TD Waterhouse. They actually don't do arm's length mortgages, but you would make sure that you're with an institution that does. And it could be an RESP, it could be a LIRA, it could be an RRSP. Once it's sitting in cash, then you're ready for the deal. Okay. So what would happen is if you had told me, hey Andrew, I'm interested in lending a private mortgage, I've got $50,000, please keep an eye out for me. So I'd keep an eye out for you, and then when the right deal came around, I would pre-screen it. And my pre-screen, obviously I look at the credit, I look at their income, and I make sure that these people have a track record. If they want to borrow this money to do a development or to renovate and flip a house, I'm going to make sure that these are the type of people that can do that.
And that's a bit of more of a higher risk type investment. Like, I'm assuming that someone who's buying a regular home, going to live in it, that's a safe mortgage. Something as you go down the road, a development, buying a raw piece of land is a lot more riskier than having a family living in a home.
That might seem it might seem counterintuitive, Mark, but actually the people who are buying a house to live in it, they have access to 95% financing.
Right.
So our investors, they're limited to 80%. So we can lend out investors money to, up to 85%, and the investor is still relatively safe in that position. And the person who's borrowing the money is just getting a little bit further ahead and being able to buy that next property.
Andrew, you're touching on something really exciting I want to further at. We're going to take a quick break on your money and real estate. We'll be right back.